It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Tuesday, August 26. PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III has been replaced by his second-in-command, Lieutenant General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. This was contained in a letter by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin dated August 25. This morning, Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla swore in Nartates as the 32nd PNP chief and the 5th since the Marcos administration took over. Remulla says Torre is being considered for another government post.
Senator Ping Lacson says Torres' removal may have been triggered by his unilateral decision to relieve his deputy. Lacson added that this move should have been cleared with the president or DILG. Recall that Torre reassigned Lieutenant General Jose Melencio Nartates as head of the Area Police Command for Western Mindanao and then replaced him with Lieutenant General Bernard Banac as Deputy Chief for Administration. For her part, Representative Laila de Lima questioned the sudden shakeup, calling Torre a popular, much appreciated, and high-performing PNP chief.
Batangas 1st District Congressman Leandro Leviste has filed multiple charges against Public Works District Engineer Abelardo Calalo for alleged bribery. The cases include direct bribery, corruption of public officials, and violations of the anti-graft law and the Code of Conduct for Public Officials. Calalo was arrested on August 22 after he allegedly offered Leviste a kickback of 3.1 million pesos to halt an investigation into public works projects.
And Senate President Chis Escudero warned that he will not hesitate to sign arrest warrants against contractors who skip the next flood control project hearing on September 1st. Escudero said subpoenas have already been signed and will be served within the week to 10 major contractors who ignored the first hearing. He stressed that the need for them to explain allegations of bribery and corruption involving DPWH district engineers. President Bongbong Marcos assured the public that the government is addressing the rising problem of online gambling. Speaking at the Manila Tech Summit, where I was just this morning, he said the administration has started suspending in-app gambling access in mobile payment apps and websites to protect citizens and safeguard the financial system. Marcos also reaffirmed the government's commitment to investing in digital infrastructure, including the national fiber backbone and free Wi-Fi for all. With the National Fiber Broadband Plan, he says this will provide 17 million Filipinos with faster internet by 2028.
There is also the growing problem of online gambling, which preys on our people's vulnerabilities. We are addressing this through initial measures such as suspending the in-app gambling access in mobile payment apps and websites. This way, we can help protect our citizens and preserve the integrity of our financial system. Last year alone, our digital economy was valued at 2.25 trillion peso sector, as a 2.25 trillion peso sector. That is equivalent to 8.5% of our gross domestic product. It also created 11.3 million jobs. We are investing in the National Fiber Backbone, or NFB, and once completed by 2028, the NFB will span the archipelago, giving 17 million Filipinos faster and more reliable internet access.
And joining us today, the Casanova of Philippine politics.
Oh, that's new. And very flattering. But okay, who are you talking about?
Manny Mogato.
Uy, pakita ko pa naman yung book ni Mogs.
Birthday boy.
Yung second edition ng libro ni Manny Mogs lumabas na.
Saan na yun? I'll show it later.
May dagdag na chapter.
Teka, wala pa yung pangalan ng kasama natin.
Ikaw, the script is yours.
The Casanova of Philippine Politics, Raul Llamas.
Para mahuhulog ako kasi yan.
Which is?
Sinimula lang.
You're secretly flattered eh. And
Hindi rin.
hindi rin.
Mas gusto ko yung
Heckler.
yung nag-i-interview ng contractor.
And from the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan.
Labong kausap, no?
Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday,
Slow coming in, Ami.
Casanova.
Tuesday kasi ngayon.
Wow.
Slow day.
Slow day.
Casanova.
Sa principal.
Si Ami.
Sorry, ang dami kasi. There's a lot going on. Hindi ko alam ano yung process ko una. But the first thing that I want to say was I was there when President Marcos said that
Yeah.
about online gambling. In fact, I was in the front row of that summit kanina, which is very well attended. And of course, everybody, was everyone was clapping and.
Doon ka rin nung pinupuri ni Marcos si General Torre, di ba?
Yes, actually, I was hoping for a chance to do an ambush interview, but of course, hindi pwede because he was in and out very quickly. But because the top story today, obviously, is General Nick Torre III, which is a real shocker to a lot of people.
Talagang this
Kakapuri
early
lang
morning.
Sa sola niya, di
Kaya
ba?
nga eh.
Pinatayo pa, di ba?
Kaya nga eh.
Kampiyon.
2 weeks ago, fair-haired boy, now prenito sa sariling mantika.
Okay, so what happened there? I think most people know, no? Pero let's dive into the backstory a little bit.
Well, meron naman talagang
Nakakaawa yung
meron naman talagang dynamics eh. Halimbawa, 'di ba, nung naghamulan ng suntukan, si Baste at saka si General Torre, medyo naglabas ng public statement si John Vic Remulla na unbecoming of a chief PNP. Kaya that early, alam mo may kaunting dynamics, 'di ba?
Tension.
May kaunting eh.
Oo, ma'am.
Pero
Mukhang
dumalo
may nakatabunan.
rin naman si John Vic doon sa auditorium. Doon din naman siya to give support, 'di ba? Pero alam mo
And
na
dami kasi
something is
there were a lot of cameras kasi.
Yeah, tsaka alam mo something is happening underneath. Merong tension. Tapos pumutok yan yung Napolcom na yung mga inappoint ni General Torre parang binawi nila. Kaya yun, that was a big thing, no? Dahil si PNP binabawi ng Napolcom yung mga ni-appoint niya. So from that time on, parang it's just a matter of time na sasabog ito.
Pero anong ugat? Was there something going on even before the Napolcom revamp?
Well, ang alam natin kasi may tension naman talagang kaunti between mga PNPA officers
And the
at saka
PMA.
PMA. No,
And
yung,
PMA.
yung PMA kasi paubos na, mga 4-5 na lang yata yung natitira.
Hindi, last na yun, batch na yan, Nartates, ha? Last na yan.
I think 92, di ba?
Yes. Mukhang may tinanggal si Torre at PMA. So that triggered...
Siyempre, I think ni-reassign.
Or ni-reassign, no?
Well, si
Pero
Natatas number 2 nilagay sa...
usually naman talagang pag-upo ng PNP chief, talaga naman nagre-reorganization.
Yun nga that's what we were talking about, Ami, ni Ed kanina.
Lagi naman ganun yun.
The person that he replaced was his deputy, right? His second in
Yeah.
command. So as head of the agency, shouldn't you have that kind of leeway to change your management team?
Yes and no. Dahil usually may counting consultation ka dun sa immediate boss mo, which is the DILG secretary. Diba? So may ganung, dahil meron na kayong tension before, lalong nadagdagan yung tension. Diba? Usually, ine-FYI mo na, uy, gusto kong paltan to, uy, ganito. Tapos syempre, yung mga kakaunting natitira na PMAer, magko-consolidate sila dun sa natanggal. So, tingin ko bahagi yan ng dynamics. Hindi ko sinasabi na yan yung dominant lang. Pero naghalo-halo Naghalo-halo yung mga pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. At nagkaroon ng trigger. Pero ngayon, nagbabackpedal sila. Ang sinasabi ay i-reappoint siya sa DILG, no? Yung ganun-ganon. Dapat sana ginawa from the start. Dahil very popular yan, if not the most popular in government. Tapos pagising ng mga tao, biglang pinalitan na. Siyempre, hindi naman nauunawaan ng tao ano nangyari.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
O tayo, medyo nauunawaan
At saka
natin.
yung
Si Ami,
internal
nauunawaan.
politics,
Pero most people, parang, what happened? No? Parang ganon.
But because he was very good with the optics, right? Si General Torre understood the value of optics, he went to visit CHR, for instance, and he went to meet with Congresswoman Laila de Lima, for instance. So he understood the value of reaching out to various sides, various camps.
Pero sabi nga ni Machiavelli, one of the basic rules of power is never outshine your master.
Yan na nga eh.
Which
Sumikat
master did he
masyado.
outshine here?
Oo
John
nga,
Vic
which
o
master?
si...
Well, you have several.
Sinikat
You have
masyado.
several.
Yeah,
You
so
have
you have a lot of
Napolcom,
masters.
you have DILG, you have the president, no? So
Why does Napolcom get a say in this?
Talaga
Again, my
namang
question
Napolcom
is...
dapat low-key lang dapat siya. Ngayon lang ako nakarinig na
Well,
NAPOLCOM na
supposedly may
nag-i-insist
administrative
ng ano.
supervisory power ang NAPOLCOM
Yes.
over
If
the
there
PNP.
is-
Pero iba yung administrative power nilang yan kaysa sa PNP chief eh.
Actually,
Nandun
inamin
sa
ni,
ano, nasa
inamin ni
law
General
yun.
Torres sa kahapon sa speech niya na yung problema is basically administrative. Tinotone down niya yung away eh. Sabi niya, naayos na yan. Yesterday, yun ang speech niya. The problem is administrative at naayos na yan at let us unite. Yun ang statement niya kahapon. Kaso, ngayon, nagbago.
I suppose
Eh,
the question
bibigyan daw
is
siya
ano
ng
eh.
panibagong pwesto eh. Saka, paano yan? You have a 4-star general, isa lang ang pwedeng 4-star general sa PNP. Sinong sasaludo ngayon sa kanilang dalawa? Hindi naman yan tinanggal sa PNP eh. Tinanggal siya sa PNP chief. Sinong sasaluduhan ni ng ano, yung 4-star o yung 3-star? Pagkatapos yung pension. Yung pension ng PNP chief, napakalaki. Oh, pa rin siyang pension na ano, that's almost 500,000 a month ha. Kuha na niya yun in 3 months, after 3 months of service.
Just because he was taken out as PNP chief doesn't mean he loses the rank,
No,
correct?
no, it does not.
Oh, you
Kasi
cannot.
ano yun eh,
Oh,
civil
hindi.
servant yan eh. You're
You will
under
not
civil
lose
service
the
rules,
rank.
you're not demoted.
Kasi he was
Nanatili
just
yan.
1 star before he became chief, right?
Then nag-2-star siya.
4-star na siya eh. Isa lang ang pwedeng 4-star sa
Yeah.
PNP.
Yeah. And the AFP. Ganun din yun, sa AFP.
And the FP, isa lang. Walang ibang plantilla na 4-star.
At saka isang unsaid
hindi.
dito.
So until he lets go of that star, nobody else can take that star.
Yes.
Yeah, unless yung magagawa sila ng rason para ano. You have to
It has
be
to be for
ousted
cause.
for cause.
Yes. Tsaka di ba, Ami, yung isang elephant in the room dito is the optics, the politics of it all.
Oh.
Dahil ang parang
Alam
naging
naman
sharp,
ng lahat kung ano nangyari.
ang naging sharp point of your stick laban sa mga Duterte ay si Torre. Hinuli si Kibuloy, hinuli si Digong, naghamulan with Baste. So, anong
Eh,
image?
anong political repercussions nito? Kasi
Well,
the are terrible.
Well, ngayon, nagdidiwang na yung mga DDS, no? Parang kinukan nila, sineselebrate na nila yung
naparusahan,
pagtanggal.
oo.
So, medyo may ganong klaseng confusing messages, no? Unless maayos yan. Usually kasi yan, kina-crisis management yan before it happens. Ibig
Yeah.
sabihin, bibigyan mo ng graceful exit, no? Para walang gulo.
For
At
example,
walang samaan ng loob.
For example, appoint mo muna bago
Appoint mo muna bago mo tanggalin. No?
Tapos later on, is out kung gusto mo.
Wala akong sinasabing gano'n.
Kung gusto mo lang, kung gusto mo.
Either way, it would have looked really off if he had appointed General Torre to another position. Kasi kakaupo lang niya. Either way, there's hardly any room for maneuver
Yeah,
here.
but less
Versus this one.
less negative.
Less bad than this one, no?
Parang bigla mo lang tinanggal. Tapos nakita mo ba yung pagtanggal sa kanya? Very curt.
Yeah.
Diba?
The
Parang-
letter was very curt. You're
diba?
hereby relieved.
Diba?
What would you have advised?
Huwag tanggalin.
So, ipa-advise ko ay we're studying putting General Torre to a very important position. No? As,
Hindi.
Ganun-ganun, etc.
Like,
etc.
So you would have agreed to take him out just because
Kung meron desisyon na tanggalin talaga siya, paano iso-soften yun? Paano iso-soften yun? No? Na hindi ganun ka-curt, hindi ganun ka-abrasive yung pagkakatanggal
But the
sa
thing is,
kanya.
as you said, it has political implications, right? Given that he is so popular. So
Yes.
he
Ang-
could have helped the administration, could he not?
Sinasabi ko lang,
Diba?
paano mo
Kaya nga
i-mitigate?
natanggal, he is so popular.
Oo, paano mo i-mitigate? Paano mo i-mitigate yung negative aspect ng decision mo?
Ang hirap naman ito. If you're too visible, natanggal ka. If you're not visible, natanggal ka rin. Ano ba talaga?
Kaya dapat, inuulit ko nga, sabi ni Machiavelli,
Don't
never
outshine
outshine
your
your masters. No? Dapat, okay ka, pero hanggang dito lang. Huwag
Okay.
masyadong,
There's a sweet... I didn't know
A sweet
that.
spot.
There's a sweet spot pala. Okay, let's move on now. Let's come back to the conversation about flood control projects. At this point, we have Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste joining us to talk more about the big story over in Batangas. Congressman, good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
Congressman. At
Congressman.
congratulations sa inyong unang term as
Sir,
Congressman.
nakamute ata kayo,
Oo
sir.
nga.
Po.
Ay,
Big splash, ah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. We just came from Batangas this morning to file the case on the district engineer. and now back in Congress to catch up on some work. I hope that we can push for real reforms in DPWH beyond the current ongoing inquiries and investigations.
Okay, let's take a step back, Congressman, if we could just piece together the story. So at this point, we know that you got a call from the district engineer, right, asking for a meeting. So you accommodated him. He went to your office, tama ba? And that's when he offered the 3.1 million pesos in cash. Did you know him before? How does he have your number?
He contacted my staff because we work with him on inspecting the ongoing projects in the first district, and he was offering an SOP on the 2025 projects of the first district, apart from what would be an SOP on the 2026 projects. The latter is already, as the name suggests, a standard operating procedure for district representatives, and the former was offered because the projects are currently being investigated by us for being substandard, and we have already verified that some of them do not have, for example, the length of sheet piles on flood control projects that are what DPWH paid for. And during our conversation, he assured me that the substandard projects will be rectified, as I stated in my affidavit that I filed this morning. And he said that the contractors want to help by, sabi niya po, gustong magpadala ng suporta para sa aking mga programa para sa edukasyon. So I suppose people talk in euphemisms when they try and deliver an SOP. And 0.1M was just 3% of 104 million peso list of projects of one contractor. And the bag that had the cash had a receipt of the 3 projects that cash was for. And the next meeting was supposed to be with another contractor for 15 million pesos cash. And the proposal was to meet all the contractors over the coming days for them to all give their suporta para sa aking mga educational na programa. And because obviously that is illegal, I thought to call the PNP, and I stated in my post earlier that I hope the DE can become a state witness, because it's not obviously going to solve the problems of the DPWH to pick on one employee.
Correct.
Time that we have one employee who can tell us a lot about the inner workings of the DPWH and hopefully fix not only the projects in my district but in other districts.
So I suppose when he asked for a meeting, you had an inkling already that he was about to offer a bribe? Is that why you took the meeting?
We have been talking with them about the ongoing inquiries on their projects.
Okay.
Because the flood control projects in our district were damaged by recent typhoons.
So
in fact, we've had several meetings before, mostly in the DPWH First District office, where we have been discussing with them why the projects that were paid for and recently completed were damaged. And the National Expenditure Program for 2026 was just that week released. And that contains the proposed projects for each congressman's district for the coming year. So one of the other things that congressmen are discussing now are what amendments to make on the projects proposed by DPWH in each district. So ostensibly, the agenda to also discuss the upcoming year's projects. But I would like to just put it out there that all of you know that there is SOP widely in DPWH districts, and oftentimes it's just not discussed openly. And of course, reason I'm discussing this openly is because I will not accept any SOP, but that hopefully of a district engineer can bring some more seriousness to the need to stop these practices in DPWH.
So kung ang packaging niya ay he was representing contractors at yung ibibigay niya sa inyo na tulong sa edukasyon, mga education programs nyo ay galing sa mga contractors. Ganun ang kanyang presentation.
Yes, there's no question because the bag had a receipt listing 3 projects.
The
And
resibo.
was of the cost of those 3 projects. And the total projects of the first district of Batangas in 2025 are 3.6B, and the bulk of them are with a few contractors, and he said he's talked with them and willing na willing sila na magpadala ng suporta sa'yo. And makikipag-meeting lang kami sana if we had not called the PNP.
Sir, na-curious ako dun sa resibo kasi may resibo.
Real yun, real.
It's not every day that you have a receipt for a lagay.
May OR.
What
Nakakatawa
exactly
yun,
is what is indicated in the receipt? Diba? Parang, ano yun?
Received to the order of from Congressman so-and-so.
It's a list of 3 projects totaling 104M that says 3%, 3.1M.
Tingin ko yung resibo na yun.
Congressman,
para
I
dun sa
understand
kanyang
yung
mga
sinabi
contractor.
niyo, he is just a pawn of bigger fish. Can you give us an indication kung sino yung iniisip niyong bigger fish na yan?
Well, I think that it depends on your perspective. If the problem is in the contractors or DPWH or in Congress.
Yeah.
There's an overlap now between DPWH and contractors in Congress because some people are in all 3. And the creative power, I suppose, is in Congress. So, to give another example, one of the projects that we were investigating in my district, he admitted to me in a previous meeting, was designed in disagreement with what the LGU had asked for because the project was incorporated in the DPWH's plans at the request of another public official who provided the funds for that project, who is also a contractor.
Nakakahilo, no? Yung another official na yun, lawmaker ba o local government?
Sikat na sikat siya ngayon.
Oh,
Sikat na sikat siya.
anong district, sir?
Para may clue eh. No?
Pamilya ba yan? Pamilya?
Sir, ilang syllables?
I have been
Pamilya.
after my personal safety.
Person.
But all of the projects of each district are with accessible DPWH files. So actually, you can gather a lot by auditing the projects of a district, which is what we're doing now in our own district. And the country can save quite a lot because, to use the example of the control, some of the projects that are proposed for 2026 by DPWH in my district are expansions of projects that were damaged, and I think the contractors can pay for the repairs. And the ones that are damaged and not funded, the contractors will also just pay for the repairs, and the DPWH wasn't really acting too quickly on. And if contractors are building substandard projects, they can't hide the fact that the defective and deficient materials are out there. So if common citizens can find these findings, then we can make claims for these contractors to rectify the works.
Sir, the fact that the engineer uses the phrase SOP or Standard Operating Procedure indicates clearly that kalakaran na, matagal nang gawain.
It's normal.
It's normalized. Did the engineer by any chance also indicate that this has been happening with the previous legislators and legislators in other districts in the area that he deals with?
He doesn't use the word SOP. He called it suporta para sa aking mga programa. Or sometimes he said, may gusto silang ipadala sa'yo. But the fact that there is SOP is not news. And I think that it's just the openness at which this is embedded in the DPWH system that is surprising to me. And that I would just state the following. Even if the congressman does not accept the 10 to 20% in a DPWH project, it is already embedded in the budgets approved by DPWH for those projects. And if the Congress doesn't take it, someone else supposedly will, such as other people in the DPWH system, because the contractor is going to pay that to someone, like to them, supposedly. So one of the reforms is first to ensure that there's real bids and not just collusion among bidders. And then when there's real bids and the result is that prices go down, that hopefully the savings can also be captured by the district, because currently it goes back to treasury. So there's really no incentive for a district to have lower cost of projects. Or better quality or according to specified work projects is a given. But I think that there's also some legislation had on streamlining and improving DPWH procurement.
Kong, aside dun sa paliwanag na SOP, meron ba kayong ginagawa to warrant itong pag-approach sa inyo nitong mga taong ito? Meron ba kayong sinimulan na investigasyon? Meron ba kayong committee na hinihead na ine-investigahan sila? So dahil bago lang kayong kongresista di ba? So anong role nyo ngayon sa Congress?
I think that's what he was saying. You were already looking into it. You started an inquiry into it, right? That's probably how they found out na you're looking into the projects.
As a district congressman or as a member of a committee?
In my own capacity as a district congressman, we, for example, yesterday, rented a backhoe to pull out from the Binambang River in Balayan, Batangas, a sheet pile that was supposed to be 15 meters and which we learned was only 4 meters. And the reason they say that flood control projects are rife with corruption is because if it's underwater and buried, then we wouldn't have known, except because of the typhoon that dragged it out of the water partially, we were able to do this and find that out. So I think that it also shows that there's not assumed that there will be audits on these projects. And if across the country people are just auditing these projects, then it's enough to trigger contractors to want to throw money to not have people auditing them. But perhaps that money can be collected and instead either returned to DPWH or used to rectify these projects.
These
So may failure of auditing din, ano? There's also a failure of auditing
Yes.
or negligence.
That COA has some complicity also in this. Of course, a lot of people have to sign off in DPWH on the acceptance of a project as well. And that's why the Sumbong sa Pangulo website should be given credit for its transparently listing and even making it locatable on Google and have all the relevant information. But why should we stop at flood control? Why don't we have a Sumbong sa Pangulo for all kinds of DPWH projects?
These contractors that you're talking about, the ones that offered money for the first and then also sending feelers for money in the second meeting and so on and so forth, were any of them on President Marcos's list of top contractors?
Some.
How many?
I know at least one of the phases of the Binambang River project has one of the top contractors on PBBM's list.
Which one was it, Kong?
Alpha Omega. One can research on the Sumbong sa Pangulo website projects like
So-
Binambang River.
So they had a project there in your district. Ito yung hindi natapos? Which one was it? Or was it what was problematic about it?
Much of the Binambang River riverside protection work is damaged. I'm not sure if the segment of that contractor is damaged. The bulk of that project is not done by them, but by a local contractor.
Akong may mahalaga kayong
Congressman,
sinabi
the district
earlier,
engineer
Kong. Sabi nyo, COA is complicit. Medyo mahalaga yung pala yun, yung statement na yun. What do you mean by that? Na COA is complicit?
That's what I heard. So, of course, I'm a newbie, and I actually wanted to learn more about the system. Now, maybe people will be more careful what they say around me. But there's supposedly lots of checks and balances to ensure that substandard projects don't get accepted, and COA is supposed to sign off on the acceptance of these projects.
Congressman, tong district engineer who was arrested, has he given any indication that he is willing to turn state witness?
I sympathize for him because, of course, this is unexpected and overwhelming. But he has not, of course, been able to give any public comment.
But he is willing to cooperate.
Yes, but I would just like to emphasize that, of course, the general press prefers a sensationalized story about a 3.1 bribe. But the story is really there's 1 trillion pesos plus of flood control projects that perhaps the bulk of that amount was wasted, and that even now we have an 880 billion peso DPWH budget for 2026 for approval. That doesn't seem like people are questioning why we don't significantly decrease it. So I think one of the immediate actions that should be taken is to assess the costs of DPWH projects and apply a significant cut to the proposed 880 billion peso DPWH budget, which includes 250 billion pesos of flood control projects.
Si Mahar Lagmay had an interesting point the other day. Sabi niya, the damage of floods to the country costs around 50 billion per year, but we've been spending 350 billion in flood control projects that are not doing the job. So sabi niya, baka mas maiging we just spend for the repair than spend for the prevention. I'm sure he was being sarcastic, but you get the point. Na parang we're spending so much to prevent damage that is not as much.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think that there's not enough asking the question of why the proposed national expenditure program for 2026 does not reflect the President Sona questioning flood control project, because there's still 250 billion pesos of flood control projects in it.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, Congressman Leviste, that we are looking at the NEP very closely, as well as following the debates in Congress very closely. But for now, we'll leave the conversation there. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Congressman.
Thank you, Kong.
You're watching Storycon 1 News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We've got developing news of the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay, still with us. Ami Pamintun of the Philippine Star and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. We were also supposed to have with us Bureau of Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno, but he just called literally just now to say that he has an emergency
Meeting.
Whatever the emergency is, we don't know, but Commissioner, hopefully we can have you on the show tomorrow. Yes, kasi we let go of Congressman Leviste na.
Yeah. But some points from the interview kanina with Leviste, sabi niya na may overlap ang contractors, public works, and congressmen because some people are in all three.
But that is no longer surprising at this point from what we found, right?
Pero Red, sa nakakagulat dito, sa gitna ng nangyayari ngayon, malakas pa ang loob nito mga to na mag-offer ng bribe. Usually yan, maglalaylo muna kayo ng konti dahil yung
Baka nautusan lang.
lahat ng ilaw na sa
ongoing yung mga project nila.
Whether contractor yan, whether congressman yan, whether DPWH, hindi nyo ba nakikita yung nangyayari sa paligid nyo?
Pero may point si Ami kasi ngayon kinukot-kot yung
pinoproteksyonan nila.
iniimbestigahan
Ako,
siya.
natatawa lang ako, bibigyan mo ng 3.1 million, yung bilyonaryo.
Bilyonaryo.
Parang did you read the room?
Obviously, they don't know the person.
Obviously, they didn't read the room. They didn't do their research.
So pag
Hindi nag-due diligence.
pag mga katulad namin ng Ed Lingao, 3,000 lang ang ibibigay. Pwede na yun.
3,000
Tatakbo na yun.
Baka may buo nga lang.
Hey, I have to say...
Yung sinasabi niya, yung collusion na tinatanong niya, sinabi niya ni Benji Magalong, di ba?
Correct.
Sabi niya, talagang talamak na ngayon na yung congressman, let's say the politician, siya na yung may-ari ng contractor, siya yung nag-earmark ng project, siya pipili ng lugar, siya na may-ari ng contractor, ng construction company. Di ba?
And then
Pero Ami, hindi madalas na may nagsasabi publicly na complicit yung COA. No? Hindi madalas yun. Kaya nga kanina ayaw kong bitawan. Ayaw kong bitawan yung complicit ang COA.
Action, sinabi niya. From 0.1 to 0.5%. Di ba?
0.5 to 1%.
Ng komisyon,
0.5
pupunta
to...
sa auditor.
0.5 to 1%.
Sabi niya yun sa privilege speech niya. 0.5.
Mathematics yun eh.
Malaki yun if it's
0.1 to 0.5. Malaki-laki yun, ha? Kung billion.
Ano ba, 0.1?
Puro siya ito,
You know, just-
0.5.
Ano ba 0.5 ng 1 billion?
You know, just because
Ganyan.
you're,
Yeah.
pero you know, just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean that. I mean, we laugh about it, pero doesn't mean that
5 million.
maliit lang yung 3. Just because maliit 3 million, you're not gonna accept it, right? I mean, haven't we already seen because of these contractors na parang na-corner mo na nga lahat ng projects and you're still going, right? There's no
You cannot
limit.
get too rich, ah.
You can't, yeah, seems like the thinking is, well, yeah, well, you can't get too rich. They'll start up different companies that cater to the same agency, government, right? So parang not necessarily naman that because he's a billionaire, kaya niya hindi tinanggap yun. Pero
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that he mentioned Alpha and Omega because of course we know who owns that. This is also the Discayas, right? And I wonder whether this whole issue, it's gonna turn out na sila yung maging yung Napoles ng case na to.
Yes. Tsaka, yung sinasabi kasi ni Secretary Bonoan, parang limited lang yung corruption. Sa
Oo,
ilang distrito.
sabi niya
Sa first
isolated.
district lang.
He said isolated and I couldn't
Diba?
believe my
Out of
ears.
123.
Kaya ang lumalabas na ngayon, medyo marami-rami.
Yeah.
No? Initial pa lang ito. Naalala mo, Ami, nung guest natin sa Secretary Bonoan?
Oo. Although, di ba sabi niya, baka nga madagdagan pa raw.
Parang
So
pero
far,
parang
yun
pahabol na lang
yung
yun eh.
investigation
Nung una
nila.
parang blanket yung ano na isa lang
Tinanong
naman
ko lang,
out of
oo.
No,
Kung madadagdagan.
his exact word was isolated. It's an isolated case. And I was like, how can it be isolated? Senator Ping mentioned Oriental Mindoro, Pampanga, a few...
Or even the
How can you
President.
be confident
Even
that
the
out of
president.
123 districts, ito lang ang may problema? Parang that's
Eh, natanggal
being
nga
super
pati yung
confident.
district engineer ng Las Piñas, Muntinlupa eh. O, hindi na-highlight yun.
Oh, ito na nga.
Tanggal siya.
Tapos yung sabi ni Leviste kanina, what surprises him is, kasi hindi naman bago yung SOP, it's not news. It's the openness and the brazenness that it's embedded in the system.
Yeah.
Sabi niya, even if the congressman does not accept that 10 to 20% in the project, it is already embedded
Yeah.
in the project of the DPWH.
Which makes sense. So now where does that money go if the lawmaker doesn't accept
So
it, right?
even if it is not taken by the congressman, others will take it.
Saan nga mapupunta?
Naalala ko lang yung sinabi mo kahapon tungkol sa media.
Anong sinabi ni
Ano
Ed
yan?
about the
Ito,
media?
Yung sabi mo
Problema
na,
ko sa ginagawa mo.
yung sabi mo, kinuwento mo kahapon na kahit hindi mo tanggapin,
Ah,
nandun ka
oo,
na sa
oo.
sistema.
What do you call it? Kwento ni
Nasa
Mogs
listahan ka
Manny
na eh,
yun.
no?
Oo.
Kwento ni Manny Mogoto yun. It's
Yung bukol?
the bukol. Okay.
Kahit tanggapin, kahit hindi mo tanggapin, nandun ka na eh.
Kaya tanggapin mo na lang. Kung
Nailabas
hindi,
na eh.
Kung hindi, pangalan mo nandun
Parang
na.
ganun din sa sistemang ito.
It's a web. It's a web
It's
of
institutional
fraud.
corruption.
It's systemic. It
Kaya,
goes very deep.
pero interesting yung sinabi niya, ha? Ang offer sa kanya is support for his projects.
Yun yung euphemism for
Euphemism.
bribe.
Education. Sabi niya.
Support
Sa uso
for
na lang pa niya, di ba?
education. Ngayon, kung medyo clueless yung politician, paano kung tanggapin nga at ibigay nga doon sa project niya? Di ba? Although bawal yun, bawal sa mga batas natin yon. At least alam niya na bawal nga yun.
Nakakatawa,
Kaya
meron
nga,
Yan,
how do
RA
you-
6713.
Ang nakakatawa, meron
Yeah,
resibo.
bawal yun eh.
May resibo.
May resibo. Kailangan na kanilang may
Paano
resibo.
yung
Resibo
resibo?
pa.
Ano nakalagay sa resibo? Pero hindi mali ang sagot niya eh. May 3 projects doon.
You pay to the order of
This is
nga.
3% of
Tingin
ano.
ko, kung yun, parang may pipirmahan ka, para yung nagbigay ng pera,
Has something
may
to hold
katibayan,
on
It's
may
to.
proof
katibayan.
na ano, na
You
hindi,
took the money.
na hindi mo binukol.
Oo, parang
you took the
middleman
money.
yung ticket DPWH.
Oo.
So, yun
May
ang
ibang
sinasabi,
nagbigay.
mukhang alam ni Ping Lacson, sinabi niya kahapon pa eh.
But-
Mukhang middleman lang yan eh.
But also
Di
maybe
ba kahapon pa sinabi na niya eh.
but also maybe
Hindi,
it's
nakausap ko
proof.
si Senator Ping Lacson. Sabi nga niya ay hindi ganun katotoo yung sinabi ni Secretary Bonoan. Rampant yan. Rampant yan sa loob ng DPWH. Hindi yan isolated. Nagulat nga ako na pinapanood pala tayo ni Senator Ping Lacson. Ikalabing siyam siya na nanonood sa atin.
Ilan lahat? 20.
Hindi, dati kasi 18 eh.
Grabe naman.
Pero nung ako, reporter pa ako, meron ng ganyan mga istorya sa DPWH eh. Kaya lang napakahirap nga nung
Patunayan.
Kahit isulat mo yan sa column, kahit sa mga blind item, kahit i-news report mo yan, ang hirap-hirap patunayan yan eh. Magkakademanda ka pa.
Yun lang
Kasi
nakakatuwa
wala
ngayon,
nang
may resibo eh.
pipirmahan. Walang resibo, nobody signs eh. Tapos, kahit magkaroon man ng whistleblower yan, alam niyo naman mga whistleblower dito, yung whistleblower doon sa CTE, siya nakakulong eh. Oh.
So,
Ako nga, nung toddler ako,
Yan
mga
ang
kalaro
problema,
ko,
you
alam
will
na
be
yan eh.
harassed eh.
Panahon ng Kastila, may public works naman nun?
Hindi, yung mga toddler, mga kalaro ko sa playground, alam na yung DPWH na yan eh.
May mga nakausap na ako mga former DPWH top DPWH officials before pa noon pa sinasabi na nila yan eh. Ay naku, napakahirap talaga ng problema dito sa departamento namin. Of course, they will not implicate themselves Pero yung sinasabi nila, yung politician, sila makikialam, gusto nila yung project nila, tapos ipapasok nila yung kontratista nila kahit hindi namin accredited. Paano kami tatanggi? Kasi sasabihin, pagdating na sa budget ninyo, lagot kayo sa amin pag hindi kayo pumayag. That sort of thing. Tapos yung dahil may kalakaran nga doon sa departamento, kapag may nagsalita daw, syempre, karir yan mga yan, magkakasa. Hindi ka naman basta-basta, ayaw mo naman matapong kung naka-assign ka dito sa Maynila, matatapong ka sa Bicol or somewhere. Di ba? I have to work with them every day. Iniisip nila yung ganun. Yun ang kinikwento sa akin ng mga official na nakausap ko. Ang tagal-tagal na. Wala pa ako nakausap na DPWH official na hindi nagsasabi about that. Kaya lang napakahirap nga daw. Napakahirap maghanap na magsasalita, napakahirap mag-documentation nung payoff mismo. Ang hirap-hirap.
well, now people are talking. As everyone says, yung sumbong sa Pangulo.ph is working at least. You can find leads there, mga katulad nila
Ngayon kasi,
Senator Ping.
ang nagawa ni Ping Lacson, meron siya mga investigador, kinuha niya yung project, kinuha niya yung site, may mga drone na tayo, may pangkuha tayo ng
Yes,
picture.
correct, yeah.
Tapos i-compare mo yung yun na nga, nilagay kasi
Yung
doon sa
coordinates,
website
they
Ito pala,
can visit
ito. Nasa na ngayon yun.
But also yung kinukwento ni Congressman Leviste about
Ayun, yung nahila niya yung well, inaano daw kasi,
Yeah.
na-expose yung beam nung hinila nila. Bakit ganito? Kulang pala yung hindi ba? Kaya
But also
merong ganong kung matutuloy ang ganyang klaseng pag-i-inspection, may pag-asa na baka may mahuli. Baka.
But yun nga, the fact he was saying na after tong first meeting, kung saan in-entrap nila yung DE, yung district engineer, there was to be a subsequent meeting pa with another contractor and a third meeting with all the other contractors, which basically tells us everyone really is in on it.
It's a syndicate.
Right? Parang, yun nga, SOP.
It's a syndicate.
It's a syndicate, it's a mafia, it's an SOP. They know that this is what they have to do. Oh, may bagong congressman in our district, we have to go,
I-co-op yan, i-co-op. Dapat makasama yun sa sindikato.
Oo, i-co-op na nila. Kasi lahat na mukhang nakapila na, hindi lang niya siguro alam, of course, that's what's gonna happen to him. Pero nakapila na, sabi niya, all the other contractors are willing to do this, are willing to offer 15%, etc., etc. So, it's all...
Actually, Ami, kahapon ko lang nalaman, meron palang committee under ng NEDA na meron silang satellite imagery ng lahat ng mga flood-prone projects sa buong bansa na dapat nilalagyan ng flood control at ano yung hindi dapat nilalagyan. No? May ganun palang subcommittee sa NEDA.
Bakit hindi yata naasikaso?
Oo, at parang water committee ang tawag. At medyo nagugulat itong committee na ito na may mga areas na hindi naman flood-prone ang nilalagyan ng mga flood control projects at lalo siya nakakasama. Lalo siya nagke-create ng baha. Kung maglalagay ka ng flood control project sa isang area na hindi karapat-dapat. Parang yung pinakita ni Magalong sa Baguio with the President na meron kasi kang mga natural water system na pag yun ay nilagyan mo ng dike, lalong nagkakaroon ng problema sa water management. Pero yung ibang mga unscrupulous na politician...
Ginagawa sa data na yan.
Oo. Hindi, nandiyan pala yan So, parang yan
Baka we can have we can have him talk to us.
Sige, next week. Pitaan natin. Next week.
Kasi pwede mo ibangga yung yung anong dapat nandito at ano yung
Hindi, tsaka
nilagay
sa kanya
instead.
yan, mga scientists yan.
Okay.
Mga magagaling na mga nagtatap ng
Di ba
ng
yan din
board
yung sinasabi sa atin ng DOST? Meron kami mga geohazard mapping, wala namang pumapansin. They have very detailed geohazard mapping. Ang feeble sa yung meron silang mga seismological chart, yung mga hazard area, wala rin pumapansin. Di ba?
Baka
Yan
walang
ang sinasabi
kita.
nila.
Baka hindi kikita eh.
Ang sabi ni Mar Mangas kasi ang default is always to build a dike, and usually it's badly done pa.
Oh.
But
Yes.
that's not exactly the right way to do things all the time eh. Kasi when you build a dike, that's usually downstream na. When you should have interventions upstream pa.
In a cynical
Pinagtatanggol yung
manner.
yung engineer sa Baguio, pinagtatanggol nila yon, and some of the officials there. Di ba? Sabi nila, it works. Sabi nila, yung sinabi ni President Marcos na useless na project doon, sabi nila hindi naman daw yun useless.
Yan ang mahirap.
At titignan natin, merong mga ganyan pushback, tandaan nyo.
Boss mo.
Nag-uumpisa pa lang tayo sa mga investigasyon, ganyan na. Isipin nyo kung gaano kahirap yan. Na to see through, tingnan natin kung ano mangyari. At least may nangyayari ngayon. Diba?
At least there's going to be hearings in both houses of Congress.
Saka yan nga, nag-file na ng crime. Yan ang maganda, yung ginawa ni Congressman Leviste, nag-file talaga ng case.
But again,
sabi nga nung isang kakilala kong engineer, in a cynical manner, sabi niya, mas mabuti pa nga yung lesser evil pa nga yung ghost project kesa doon sa project na nung nilagay mo, nakasama pa. at least yung ghost project, hindi nakasama. Naibulsa lang.
Mahirap i-determine. Yung nawawalang project, madaling
that's how low we've stooped.
Yes.
Kung
Ano na yung benchmark?
Mas maganda pa raw yung ghost project dahil hindi nakasama.
Kailangan mo ng expert na magsasabi substandard dyan It doesn't work. Di ba? Mahirap yun Yung ghost, at least yung inano ni Ping Lacson, nasan yung project? Wala. Mas madaling patunayan yun kasi meron, meron ditong, kung minsan may sign pa di ba? Pinakita niya. May project sign pa. Asan yung project? Saka merong completed completed.
Speaking of DPWH, former DPWH Secretary Mark Villar has spoken up about the issue. He goes, if contractors have found ways to cheat the system, that is an abuse of public trust, and it must be investigated thoroughly.
Impressed ka?
I think being a former DPWH chief dapat siya, inhibit from commenting.
Nag-comment lang naman, Ami ko naman. And he goes, did these faulty contractors submit faked geotagged photos? If so, that is outright fraud, he says. The whole purpose of mandatory geotagging was to make sure the government and the public could verify that work was actually being done where and when it was supposed to be. So that's the first time we've heard him weigh in on the flood control mess.
Parang mahirap kasi pag yung senador
Baka may nagtanong.
tapos nakulong ka for ghost project, tapos iniimbestigahan mo yung mga ghost project ngayon.
Baka may nagtanong sa kanya, kasalanan naman ng media yan. Baka hinabol siya ng comment. Oo. Kasalanan na naman natin yan.
Tayo na naman.
Kasalanan niya yan, kayo talaga.
I mean, well,
Panyan, unethical.
to ask him about it? Bakit?
Yan naman to.
Okay,
here we go.
Ang sarap i-provoke, di ba?
Piniplay mo na naman
I was
Fraud
being
daw,
sarcastic, Miss Principal.
Oy, mag-goodbye na tayo. Kaya talaga, para makapag-wensi na tayo.
Thank you for joining Storycon today. Ami Pomintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Ronald Llamas, a resident political heckler. Join us again tomorrow for 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. rather, for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Linga. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Parang may